welcome back. Today, you're about to experience one of the most powerful English learning stories you've ever heard. The Price of Laziness. But listen closely, because what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a full reading, plus listening, plus fluency, experience that will strengthen your English while touching your heart. Before we begin, repeat this aloud. I learn English with emotion, with meaning, with stories. Good. Your mind is awake now. In a moment, you're going to step into a quiet countryside where the mornings are slow. The air is soft, and a young man is about to discover the true cost of avoiding responsibility. But before we step inside that world, let's warm up with a micro challenge. Repeat slowly: responsibility, discipline, change. These 3 words follow you through the entire story. Imagine this. The countryside wakes up before the people. Before sunrise, a gentle mist covers the fields like a silent blanket. Birds begin to sing. Cows breathe softly. The entire land stretches and opens its eyes. Close your eyes for 1 second. Picture that quiet morning. The smell of wet soil. The sound of birds. Good. Your imagination is your strongest learning tool. At the far edge of this peaceful land stands a small wooden house, old, simple, held together by hard work, memories, and love. Inside live a young man and his aging mother. She is gentle, but tired. Her joints hurt, her breath is slow. Yet every morning she rises before the sun, beginning the day with quiet strength. She hopes her son will help her, support her, stand beside her. But hopes are fragile. Here is where the story shifts. The young man is strong, healthy, young, capable, but he carries a heavy weight: laziness. While the entire countryside rises with the sunrise, he sleeps. While others clean, cook, fetch water, feed animals, he ignores every chore. While life moves forward, he walks with no purpose, no discipline, no direction. And every day he repeats the same excuse: I'll do it later, maybe tomorrow. Micro quiz: choose the natural sentence. A. I will do it in tomorrow. B. I will do it tomorrow. Correct. B. Your English instinct just grew stronger. Repeat these phrases after me. Wake up early. Avoid responsibility. Make excuses. Ignore the work. Put things off. These will return as the story continues. Listen for them. The mother's silent pain. While he avoids work, his mother suffers quietly. She cleans the house, fetches water, cooks meals, repairs whatever she can, all with tired hands and a heavy heart. She doesn't shout. She doesn't scold him. She only sighs softly, wishing he would change, because she knows something he doesn't. Life in the countryside rewards effort, but punishes laziness. Remember this line. It will echo through the entire story. In the next moments, you'll see how the young man's laziness spreads like a slow poison. To the fence, to the field, to the tools, to the entire home. Everything he ignores begins to break. But before we enter that part of the story, repeat this. Small delays become big problems. Excellent. Repetition builds fluency. The fence around their home, broken. The vegetable patch, dry. The firewood, almost finished. And the young man, still wondering, still wasting time, still whispering to himself that life will wait for him. Mini speaking practice. Repeat these. I avoid work. I delay my tasks. I pretend things are fine. Now the corrected versions. I take responsibility. I finish my tasks. I face my problems. Feel that emotional shift. That's fluency plus mindset together. Soon, the villagers notice. In the countryside, everyone works. Everyone helps each other. Everyone contributes. Everyone except him. People whisper when he walks past. People shake their heads. People stop asking him for help. He hears them, but smiles lazily, thinking nothing will ever change. He's wrong. Life is watching him, and consequences are coming. The mother stands at the door in the early morning light, watching farmers prepare their fields. Women sweep their courtyards. Children feed the animals. She looks at her son and wishes he could understand one truth. Effort shapes your future. Laziness destroys it. The mother watched her son for a long moment, a silent ache sitting behind her tired eyes. She wondered how someone so young, so strong, so full of potential could choose the emptiness of laziness over the dignity of responsibility. But she said nothing. Silence had become her only language. She simply turned away and continued with her work, moving slowly, carefully, her hands trembling with age and exhaustion. Outside, the village was alive, breathing, moving with purpose. Farmers sharpened tools. Women carried water jars on their heads, balancing them with practiced grace. Children chased chickens, laughing as the morning sun washed everything in a soft golden glow. Life in the countryside was simple, but demanding. Every person had a role, and every role mattered. Except his. The young man stepped out of the house, stretching lazily, blinking at the sunlight as if the world had woken up too early. He looked around. The broken fence, the dry vegetable patch, the tools lying in the dirt. But his eyes slid past it all. He shrugged, hands in his pockets, as though the problems belonged to the wind, not to him. He wandered down the narrow path between the fields. The villagers noticed him. Of course they did. They always did. Whispers floated through the air like dust. There he goes again, doing nothing. His poor mother. She deserves better. He's wasting his youth, wasting his life. He heard them, but didn't react. Ignoring truth had become easier than facing it. He convinced himself that life would magically fix itself, that the broken fence would somehow stand again, that the dry vegetables would one day grow on their own, that consequences would never come. But consequences were already here. He just hadn't recognized them yet. As he walked further, he noticed old Mr. Kareem struggling to lift a heavy sack of grain. The old man's back was curved, his hands shaking with effort. A normal young man would run to help without thinking. But this young man only watched, thinking someone else would help. Someone else would step in. Someone else would do the work. Moments later, 2 village boys rushed in and lifted the sack together. Mr. Kareem thanked them with watery eyes. The boys smiled proudly. The young man felt a strange twist in his chest. Not guilt, but something close to shame. Only for a second. Then he pushed the feeling away, like brushing dust off his sleeve. He kept walking. A weak breeze moved through the fields, carrying with it the sound of his mother coughing from inside their small home. It was a rough cough, the kind that cracked through the air like something breaking. But he didn't turn back. He told himself she was fine. She always managed. She always would. But even the strongest mothers weaken, and life was watching. When he reached the edge of the fields, he sat under a tree, his usual place, a place where he could waste time without interruption. He leaned his back against the trunk, arms folded, eyes half closed. Hours slipped away silently, unnoticed, uncared for. But time is never truly silent. As the sun climbed higher, shadows shrank, and the air grew warm. Workers passed by him one by one, carrying tools, baskets, wood. Produce, each person doing something meaningful. Some glanced at him with disappointment. Others didn't even bother looking. They had stopped expecting anything from him. But the real shift happened when a group of children ran past, chasing each other, laughing. One little boy looked at him and whispered to his friend, "That's the man who never helps anyone." The words hit harder than he expected. For the first time, he felt small, invisible, unnecessary, and that feeling lingered. He closed his eyes, trying to shake it off, but the whisper echoed in his mind. The man who never helps anyone. He remembered his mother's sigh in the morning, the heaviness in her voice, the way she held her back when she thought he wasn't looking, the way she pretended nothing was wrong because she didn't want to burden him, but she was carrying everything alone. The fence, the water, the cooking, the cleaning, the animals, the fields, the repairs, everything. He, on the other hand, carried nothing. For a moment, guilt cracked through him like lightning. He sat up straighter, breath unsteady, mind racing with thoughts he had avoided for years. Maybe I should help. Maybe I should change. Maybe. But before he could complete that thought, a loud sound ripped through the stillness of the afternoon. A scream, a woman's scream. His heart jolted. It came from his home. Without thinking, he jumped to his feet and ran faster than he had run in years, dust flying behind him, breath burning, fear rising in his throat. The closer he got, the clearer the sound became. It was his mother, crying out. His chest tightened with a fear he had never known. He pushed through the doorway, and what he saw would change everything. She was lying on the floor. His mother, the woman who had carried him, fed him, protected him, forgiven him more times than he could count, was collapsed beside the wooden chair, one hand gripping her chest, the other reaching weakly toward the table as if she had been trying to hold herself up. Her breath was uneven, sharp, painful. Her eyes were half open, filled with fear and exhaustion. "Oma," he cried, rushing to her side. His voice broke, something inside him tearing open as he dropped to his knees. She looked at him, and through the pain, she tried to smile. A small, fragile smile. A smile that said she didn't want him to be afraid. A smile that mothers use when they want to protect their child, even when they are the ones suffering. It's just a little dizziness," she whispered, though her voice trembled and her hands were ice. No, Oma, you're not okay," he said, his hands shaking as he lifted her head onto his lap. "Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you tell me you were feeling weak?" Her eyes softened with a sadness deeper than words. "I didn't want to bother you," she whispered. "You seemed busy." Those words stabbed him with a pain he had never felt before. Busy. Busy doing what? Wasting time under trees, avoiding responsibility, pretending life would fix itself. He felt his throat tighten. His palms grew cold. His heart pounded with a mixture of fear, guilt, and regret that burned inside him like fire. "I'm here now. I'm here," he said desperately, lifting her gently. "I'll take care of you. I promise." She smiled again, tired, weak, full of love, but empty of strength. As he carried her toward the bed, he noticed everything he had ignored for so long: the unwashed dishes, the broken shelf, the thinning firewood, the dry water pot, all the signs of a home built on a mother's sacrifices and a son's negligence. He laid her down carefully, covering her with a shawl. Her breathing was shallow now, her eyes heavy, her fingers trembling when they touched his hand. "My son," she whispered, each word slow and heavy. "Life. Life is not kind to those who wait too long." His heart cracked. "Don't talk like that," he said, tears gathering but refusing to fall. "You'll be fine. Just rest. I'll bring water. I'll bring medicine. I'll fix everything. I promise." Promises he had made, so many of them, but none of them had ever become action. Now, the weight of every broken promise pressed down on his chest, suffocating him. He rushed outside, calling for help. Villagers turned, surprised by his panic. For the first time, they saw fear in his eyes, urgency in his steps, responsibility in his voice. "Please, someone help. My mother, she's not well." The same villagers who once whispered about him now gathered quickly, their compassion stronger than their judgment. A couple of women hurried toward the house, carrying herbs and cloth. An old man brought a small bottle of homemade medicine. Someone sent for the village healer. The young man stood outside the door, hands on his head, pacing, unable to breathe properly. Each second felt like a heavy stone pressing on his chest. Every memory of his mother came rushing back, her laughter when he was a child, her sleepless nights when he was sick, her sacrifices, her gentle patience, her soft voice calling his name every morning. How had he become so blind, so careless, so selfish? The healer entered the house, knelt beside the mother, and checked her pulse, her breathing, her eyes. The room was silent except for the soft clinking of medicine bottles. Finally, after what felt like hours, the healer looked up. "She is exhausted," he said quietly. "Her body is weak. She has worked far too much and rested far too little." The young man felt the floor beneath him disappear. He wanted to scream. He wanted to break something. He wanted to go back in time and fix every moment he had wasted. "This did not happen in one day," the healer continued, "but exhaustion builds slowly, like water filling a jar drop by drop, until one day it overflows." The words hit him like a slap. This was his fault. Every drop of exhaustion in her body was placed there by his laziness. He sank to the ground beside her bed, holding her hand gently, as though she might break if he touched her too firmly. I'm so sorry," he whispered, tears finally spilling over. "I should have helped you. I should have been here. I should have listened. I should have changed." She opened her eyes, weak but warm, and brushed his cheek with her trembling fingers. "My son, change begins when the heart wakes up." Her voice was faint, but her words were powerful. He bowed his head against her hand, the weight of years settling on his shoulders. For the first time in his life, he felt the true cost of laziness. And in that moment, something deep inside him broke open. Not pain, not guilt, but awakening.